TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's top story countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
If union workers sign off, this deal could deliver good news for more than 300,000 UPS workers, as well as the entire U.S. economy, especially the retail sector, which is in the middle of a key stretch right now.
UPS and the Teamsters Union said they've reached a tentative deal on a new contract for about 330,000 UPS employees who prepared to walk out next week.
This is good. This is a start.
Those workers need to ratify the deal to avoid a work stoppage that would hit in the middle of the back-to-school shopping season, which the National Retail Federation estimates will generate $41.5 billion in spending. NRF says supply chain crises sparked by the COVID-19 pandemic prompted retailers to better anticipate disruptions.
We're obviously in the middle of back-to-school. That product is on shelves and stocked already. Heading into holiday, we know retailers are already in a good place with inventory and thinking ahead.
And consumers adapted too, starting shopping early to find deals to counter inflation and to get what they want.
There's a lot of tools out there. We know consumers have become adept at using them, and retailers have certainly built in their own systems for communicating with their shoppers about what is available and when and how long it might take to get to them.
UPS handled an average of 20.8 million domestic packages a day last year. Anderson Economic Group estimated a 10-day UPS strike would cost the U.S. economy $7.1 billion.
While the Postal Service and FedEx and some other delivery channels may pick up some of the slack, there aren't enough options available to the businesses and consumers alike today to replace the volume that UPS handles.
And the process of union workers signing off on that deal is expected to take a little bit more than 3 weeks. If a majority of workers vote no, however, a strike is still a possibility, though that would take place in mid to late August rather than next week. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Like the Advocate Channel on Facebook for the best way to get updates on stories that advocate for equality, justice, our rights, and more. AC 24/7 continues with today's top 2 pick.
I put my headset on, I created my account, selected my avatar, and within about 30 seconds of being in the communal area, I had 3 male avatars come towards me and start verbally harassing me and sexually harassing me, and then proceed to sexually assault my avatar. I asked them to stop, they refused to, and then a 4th avatar came to take photos.
In 2021, researcher Nina Patel published a blog post detailing her experience of sexual harassment in the metaverse. Since then, she says she's received death threats and hateful messages.
They were relentless in following me and were very quick to stay very close to my avatar to be able to, continue the verbal and sexual harassment.
Hate and harassment can be traumatizing for many victims online. But what happens when harassment follows you to the metaverse? An online space where the lines between the virtual and the offline world are meant to be blurred.
My experience of sexual harassment in the metaverse is the very tip of the iceberg. I know that many women have experienced some form of misogyny through digital experiences and now in the 3D metaverse as well. So I know I'm not alone.
Callum Hood is the head of research at the Centre for Countering Digital Hate. His team studies and monitors online hate and misinformation. But the metaverse, he says, poses its own unique challenges.
If we listen to people who have been harassed in VR, they say it's much more like a real-world experience of harassment than, say, receiving messages on social media. We found that in these VR spaces, people seem to be pretty aware that they're pretty anonymous, that there's not much enforcement of the rules. So there was a sense that people were behaving perhaps much worse and by default being abusive to other users in a way that they wouldn't if it was a social media account in the same name or in the real world.
Callum and his team recorded hours of interactions in the metaverse and found that in VR Chat, one of the most popular social VR apps, an instance of harassment occurred roughly every 7 minutes. In Meta's Horizon World, they recorded incidents of abuse directed at minors by adults, including sexually explicit insults, racial, misogynistic, and homophobic harassment.
Young users are very common in these VR spaces, but when it comes to young girls in particular, they're often targeted with a sort of virtual harassment, purely because people recognise their voice as female.
VR Chat told CNN they have put measures in place to address harassment, such as personal space tools. The company told CNN, "We're working hard to make VR Chat a safe and welcoming place for everyone. Predatory and toxic behaviour has no place on our platform." After Nina shared her story, Meta implemented default safety bubbles in Horizon Worlds. These bubbles prevent other avatars from getting too close to your own. The metaverse is still in its infancy, and Nina, for one, wants to make sure that it matures into a safe space.
And we have an opportunity today in 2023 to shape this new technology system differently so that it's not yet another technology or system that silences women and objectifies their bodies, but becomes a technology that's fit for purpose and does more good than it does damage.
Follow the Advocate channel on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on stories that matter every day. Here's our #1 story of the day. Take a look.
Tonight, President Biden naming a new national monument honoring Emmett Till, the black teenager whose gruesome murder in 1955 helped galvanize the civil rights movement.
At a time when there are those who seek to ban books, bury history, we're making it clear, crystal clear. While darkness and denialism can hide much, they erase nothing.
The national monument, which also pays tribute to Till's mother and her critical activism, will consist of 3 protected sites. The Roberts Temple Church in Chicago, where Till's open casket funeral was held, and 2 sites in Mississippi. Graball Landing, where Till's body was pulled from the river, and the Tallahatchie County Courthouse, where an all-white jury acquitted the 2 white men who lynched Till. Biden's proclamation came on what would have been Till's 82nd birthday, and after decades of activism by his family.
It has been quite a journey for me from the darkness to the light. Back then in the darkness, I could never imagine a moment like this.
It also comes amid a national debate over how black history should be taught in classrooms.
We can't just choose to learn what we want to know. We have to learn what we should know. We should know about our country. We should know everything, the good, the bad, the truth.
Dozens of states have taken steps restricting how issues of race are taught in schools. In Florida, new state education guidelines now require, among other lessons, that middle schoolers learn, quote, how slaves develop skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. High school students would learn about violence perpetrated against and by African Americans. The new rules emerged from the Stop Woke Act Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed last year, which bars teaching that anyone is privileged or oppressed based on their race.
I didn't do it, and I wasn't involved in it, but I think what they're doing is I think that they're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life.
Vice President Harris flew to Florida last week to decry the new guidelines.
This is unnecessary to debate whether enslaved people benefited from slavery. Are you kidding me?
Harris is rapidly becoming the voice of the White House's rapid-fire pushback to Republican actions on guns, abortion, and education. And today, she carried on that charge.
Let us not be seduced into believing that somehow we will be better if we forget. We will be better if we remember.
Thanks for watching the Advocate Channel's top stories. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Follow, like, and share, or check out advocatechannel.com for even more stories that advocate for you.